Good morning. This is Christine. I just want to make a little brief introduction to what you'll be listening to next. I introduced myself on the audio as Christine, moderator from the Project Avalon Forum, which many of you listening to by this time will know that I'm no longer a moderator. I find it very interesting to take a few steps back in time and to see how much can change in such a abrupt way. I hope that everyone that listens to this will have a great benefit from it. It was recorded with a lot of heart, a lot of feeling, and a lot of truth. And just want to also state for myself that there is no ill will, nothing other than what remains in me at this moment is to speak the truth, to follow the truth no matter where it leads us. And so here I am speaking the second part of an interview now with Goode, ETXSG, who was a member of the Project Avalon Forum and at the current time is no longer such. Life moves on. Doors close and doors open. And I think it is with a great deal of heart, feeling, love, honor that we all move forward through this time. Thank you. All right, so this is Christine, moderator at the Project Avalon Forum, and today I have the honor and the pleasure of speaking with the forum member that is known as Goode, ETXSG. Many of you are very aware of his, as the first part of an audio release we did, I believe it was at the end of October?
Yeah, around the September 23rd, and then again on October 3rd, I believe.
Okay, so since that time, a lot of things have been happening, I would suggest, in Goode's world. I'm going to refer to him as Jim during this interview today because we know each other and it's an easy, informal name for me to use. That way I won't be using his real name, it's his alias. I know there's a lot of things that we may be speaking about today, Jim. We had a little talk the other day, and I certainly know since we released that audio, it has brought about pretty much an avalanche or a tsunami of responses from people out there. Forum members, other people are contacting you. I've been contacted. A lot of healing work is going on. And it's just been hard to keep up with it. I mean, I haven't even myself been able to keep up with all your postings, so I apologize for that. I've read a great deal of it, but certainly not all of it. I also want to thank you really from a very deep place of gratitude for your grace and your manner and how you've been answering the folks' questions. You certainly know how sensitive all of these issues are and also how broad and vast the subject matter is that we're talking about. So I just, hats off to you, and I'll take hats off for Bill Ryan too, as I know he's been very pleased with the way both threads have been rolling out for everyone. It's pretty amazing to see such a great amount of intelligence and civility being exercised on the forum. So thank you, Jim.
I've done the best I can. I've really, of course, when we first did the first recording of the conversation, it was in a very, it was done in a kind of very relaxed format. My wife was in the background. My 3, nearly 4-year-old son was there, and I was talking for the first time out loud on a lot of stuff.
Right.
That some of the stuff, a good deal of the stuff she had heard before, but I was talking. I was a little hesitant because she was walking around, and I was like, okay, how is she going to react to some of this stuff? Mm-hmm. But after Christine leaves, I'm going to have a lot of questions.
Right.
So I was on a number of levels. I was a little nervous. It was the first time since the entity detachment situation that I was pretty much clear and able to talk about it without locking up.
Right, yes.
And you can attest to that. We had tried to talk about it before, and I had gotten so tongue-tied and I was unable to talk about it to where I actually had to leave the room.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it would be good just to have, for the audio purpose this time, just a little background. That first audio wasn't meant for publication, and both of us, Jim and I, knew about that. It actually was, I would say, at the end of 2 years of you and I getting to know each other and developing a relationship, trust, sharing our own insights. And the thing I really want to note here, because we will probably get into it in this talk a bit, is that it became aware to me from being on the forum and reading different people's posts, but especially reading your posts, that I was sharing a lot of your same perceptual data. And so I started to share with you some of the remote viewing data I was getting, which was very surprising for me because it sort of started coming to me out of the blue. It wasn't something I was trained in. And you would start verifying it for me. And that was so valuable that it became for me a part of what I believe is what we're doing on the forum, is sharing our information in a free way. And I've seen, and I especially see it with the release of, the last audio, was that you're overcoming the triggers, the implants, the overlays, the fear, all the things that you experienced from early childhood has allowed many others to open up and start to share their experiences. So I think this is going to be a bit of a continuation of that. Since then, I've also, like you, have had contact with people all over who are feeling for the first time they can speak. And so I just want to honor that as part of what we're doing, not just having this talk today, Jim, but also on the Project Avalon forum. There's a bridge here, and I just want to make note of it, and then I'll hand it over to you. There seems to be a bridging happening between what are all of these human agendas, extraterrestrial agendas, AI agendas, our mythologies, we could name it, all the symbologies under which we're operating, all of the things that keep being brought up to the surface. And then there's the act or the understanding of our real spiritual nature. We could call it our quantum beingness, or we could call it how we are as beings of resonance. And that was, for me, with you, was probably the most important part of feeling the connection, was understanding that you also have not only the experiential data, but you also have a broader picture of who we are as spiritual beings. So that's the broad brush context of perhaps what this conversation or this interview will be geared or progressing towards. Now, I'd like you to just say whatever it is that you might want to talk about to begin with. And just maybe leading in a little bit, a lot of people have asked about, because I made that comment, a lot of miracles happened in your life after publishing. And you've spoken on the forum about the entity detachments, but that wasn't included in our first audio, and I would wonder if you'd like to start there.
Okay. Yeah. I was a little disappointed that the entity attachment part was not in the last conversation that was released. Just because it's such a very important part of the process of what it is to be to be released from all of the programming and the mind control and the entities are a lot of the times involved in, along with this technology, they're the gatekeepers. And after I started talking openly on the forum about it, in detail about the actual entity that I remote viewed in my light body, and then after I listened to Eve Logren, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and James Bartley in an interview about entity attachments. I remembered a remote viewing that I'd done a year and a half earlier where I saw this being in my light body, and it made me forget it. And I was able to use some different tactics to will it out of my being. And that was in between two of our conversations that this happened.
Right.
And it went from me locking up and not being able to have conversations about certain things to being able to have a full conversation and being able, I could always access these memories, but I could not verbalize them.
Right.
And when I started writing about this on the forum, I was unprepared for the tsunami of emails and personal mails through Avalon that I received, and I was really caught off guard. How many people are dealing with this kind of thing? And there's been some that I've handled on my own, that I've been working with on my own, because people that have been through this are a very skittish bunch. They have major trust issues.
Of course.
And with me knowing what I've been through, they have a little bit of a a little bit of a trust, but a camaraderie, or I've been through the same thing. So they will feel me out, see if I'm, kind of vet me to see if I'm, full of crap. And once, I kind of vet them too. And once we fill each other out, then we'll have a conversation. And, there's been people that I send to the way of the Avalon Healing Group. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I don't think hardly anyone knows. People just see Avalon Forum and think it's just some forum where people go when they're bored to sit and hack around on the computer and talk about aliens and UFOs. Mm-hmm. They don't realize in the background all the resources that Avalon has. They have all different types of energetic healers, remote viewers, counselors for people that have been through ritual abuse, my labs, and alien abduction, all these different types of things. Right. And I've referred people through you to the healing group, and there's always a place for people to find healing at Avalon that I've found.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I just underline that. Just to really put it forward what it is, it's all grassroots too. Yes. Even though some people are very professional, we have a lot of professional healers and researchers on the forum.
But when they remain very anonymous.
Yes, they do.
In the forum, mm-hmm. But a lot of this stuff goes on in the background. Yes. So people that are openly in the forum do not realize what all goes on behind the scenes.
No.
And I've gotten a little peek at it just from, recently, referring some people that are seriously in pain, mm-hmm. under spiritual attack or under entity attack, all other different types of things. And I've seen the resources y'all have to Marshall. And, people need to know that there's more to Avalon than just some researchers or just a bunch of moderators sitting around with nothing else to do, watching over a forum.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the healers group is actually called Avalon 24/7. I think that's pretty adequate name. Right. Okay.
And it's 24/7 is exactly right.
Yeah.
I think y'all are all over the globe, aren't you?
Oh yeah, all over the globe, and a lot of us realize that even in our sleep we're actually being accessed and working. So. It's a fabulous activity. I'll probably do something a little later. I'll do my own little talk about that in the next week or so. So thanks for mentioning it. And I just
I know this is about my material, but I can't talk about the entity attachments and some of my material without mentioning that.
Sure.
Because I've been so inundated and overwhelmed with insiders and people that have been coming to me that I've had to, offload and come to y'all.
Yeah, well, it's really,
and there's been I've had some major insiders.
Sure.
One in particular that was active in one of the secret space programs that very few know about, called the Dark Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And very few have inside information, and I was excited about it. And for a short time, someone that will remain nameless had released my full name out in public, and it caused this person to clamp up and remove themselves, and I haven't been able to talk to them again, and I was getting some really good information from them.
Right.
It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, so let's just underline that point here is that, the information that you're sharing and a lot of the people that are talking, and it is literally mind-blowing. This is not, what's happening right now. Those that are sharing privately and will feasibly share publicly at some point, the information is staggering in its implication. And I just, if you don't mind, just to underline, going back to the incident where the entities were detached from you, I think it might be nice if you just give a description of how that was accomplished. Because there's a lot of people sitting out there right now listening and wanting to know. And then number two, I think there's something that happened outside of your expectations. I think you were wired, let's say, to think that if you spoke, really bad things would happen, and if, in your estimation, the opposite has taken place.
Yeah, I was programmed with different kinds of triggers. Different people are programmed with different kinds of triggers. That sometimes they don't know why, but they'll. Some things made me. For some reason, I was just beyond my personality. I was just angry. Making me angry, react angrily. And I have 2 children and a wife. And I'm a real laid back kind of guy, and it was just not my personality. And I would see certain materials online or that kind of thing, and there's different triggers, and people don't realize that people can come onto a forum, and it may look like they're on there to give a narrative that looks pretty interesting, but they're giving triggers on purpose, and it can cause people that are programmed with triggers, different kinds of triggers, to hurt themselves, hurt their family, to go as far as even murder or suicide, and or emotionally abuse people. There's a lot of different things, and I felt that if I were to push the boundaries, something like that was possible. I had been warned off about some of the stuff I had spoken about very vaguely in some of my threads over the last few years, to stop being so open. And so, I was nervous about that. So about now it's been close to 2 years ago, I had this weird urge to remote view my light body. So I sat down and I started remote viewing my light body. And because of the things I've been through, my light body is quite a bit further out than my physical body. And so I started from the bottom top, and I started moving, and I saw all these different orbs just at different frequencies resonating, different colors, usually in the higher, out of the Roy G. Biv spectrum, and the green, blue, indigo, violet color spectrum. And the overall background field color was kind of a yellowish color that I was in. And so I was moving throughout the spheres, moving my way up. And I got about 3/4 of the way up, and I saw a red sphere, smaller than the others, and it wasn't vibrating. It was just out of place, sitting there. And I immediately, with my mind, I moved to it, and I looked at it. And I was like, what is this? And in my mind, I said, go transparent. What's inside? And about a 90-degree arc of a sphere, if you can picture that, went translucent. And sitting inside of it was a being. And I was shocked, and it was probably twice as shocked as I was. And it looked like kind of like a hunchbacked frog. But instead of a frog that's long ways, it was kind of like if you took a frog and squished it and made it perpendicular up and down. And we had a short dialogue. It was like, it was wanting to know how I knew about it. And you're not supposed to know about me. And I was asking, how long have you been here? And it was telling me, I've always been here. I've been here forever, your whole life. And he told me, you're mine. You belong to me. There was a long dialogue that I don't remember all of, but it told me, it said, you will forget me. And it held its long, skinny, looked like a dried up dead frog's arm. It held it up and it said, you will forget me. And I came out of the session and I told my wife, and back then she, bless her heart, she's gone through a lot of awakening since then. She looked at me and was concerned. She was, that's really weird, honey. And she goes, I wouldn't tell too many people about that. And I was like, oh, I won't. And then I was immediately sorry that I told her. I was like, I shouldn't have said anything. And within 3 days, both of us totally forgot about it.
Right.
And it had told me also in there that I asked who it was, and he told me he was the gatekeeper.
Okay. Wow.
And after I watched, there was one of the members, I believe Sydney or someone, posted a video, and there were a whole bunch of videos about my labs and different stuff, but for some reason this one stuck out. So I played it, and about 3/4 of the way through, it started talking about entity attachments. And all of a sudden, boom, I pictured that entity sitting in its sphere, and it looked like it was sitting inside of almost like it was a little self-contained spaceship sphere. And I felt it cringe as I remembered it, and then I remembered it, and I was like, holy crap. And then I remembered it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of this sucker. And it was talking about, you can will it out of your life with your free will. So I started doing that. I started saying, I will you out of my life. I want you out of my life. And it was saying, it's not going to be that easy. You belong to me. And I kept doing that. And then I felt that it was gone.
Right.
But I still didn't feel right. And for the next couple of nights, it was coming in my dreams and tormenting me and attacking me in my dreams. And I told Stacy about it. And this is going to be a part that a lot of people are going to have a problem with. And I know there's a lot of people that have their own beliefs and ideas about the name or the entity that was or was not Jesus. So I'm not going to get into any ideology of it.
I understand.
But she said, "Did you think about evoking the name Jesus?" And I said, "Well, no, I did not think of that." And she said, "Well, you should try that." And I had heard in some of the videos about my labs that people had done that and it had worked. And in some instances, it had not worked, and stuff. So I tried. So the next night, I was attacked all night. And in the early mornings, I kind of came in out of a lucid dream and woke up after I was being attacked. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I said, in the name of Jesus, I banish all entities that are attached to my body, mind, and spirit. I close all portals or entrances into or out of my body-mind complex. I banish them from my family, the realm of my family, and from my home. And I started repeating it over and over with my eyes closed, and immediately started seeing all of these beings and groups of like 6 to 12 shooting from my head and chest, just above. And so I kept saying it over and over. And then I opened my eyes, and I could still see them.
Wow.
And people have discussed with me what they were. People have said those sound like the jinn or whatever, but they had the head and shoulder outline of a human being, and like the arms, and then like black flames and smoke coming off the bottom part of them. And they were shrieking and screaming in terror and anger, and they were flying off of me. And groups of about a dozen, and like just tons and tons of them shot off of me. And after that happened, I got up, and I felt a freedom like I've never felt before. My wife and kids were like, "There's something different about you. You're totally different." I'd been diagnosed with PTSD. I didn't have to take most of the PTSD medicines, except for a little bit of medicine for anxiety. And our dog that always kept its distance from me now just will not leave me alone. It's all over me. And it's just the weirdest thing. And then the next time you came over, I think you tried one more time. You were very gently trying to talk about things. And I just opened up, and boom, it was like diarrhea of the mouth. It just came out.
Yeah. Oh, I can attest to the change in the energy field for sure.
Yeah, and it was like, we were like talking for like, I think 30 minutes, and I was like, "Do you realize like the difference?" And you were like, "Yeah." You're like, "No, I realize it."
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time we had gotten maybe 10 or 15 minutes into trying to talk about some of this stuff, I totally locked up, could not talk about it. Felt total fear, anxiety, pain, flashbacks of certain entities, certain things that were done to me. I would get flashbacks that were terrorizing, and it was terrible. And those are all gone. I've been able to talk about it and not have any of those problems since.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think it's really important people hear that, because a lot of people are in the same situation or worse than you have been. And always to know that there is a way out of it. Even if I know for you for a long time, it seemed like you never were going to get free of these things. And they were super suppressive. I mean, not just to you, but your whole family. And your great courage, really, for having withstood so much for so long. So, thanks for sharing that. Um, I'm also, as you're speaking, I'm realizing there's something you brought in there, which is about synchronicity.
Yeah.
And would you say that, well, it's always probably been this case for you, but something I'm noticing and is how knowledge is power, or how when we have an expanded knowledge or when we're out from under suppression, how we start to be able to expand. And I've certainly noticed an uptick in synchronicity. Like somehow you just get the information you need. Like you said on the forum, somebody posted something and you went right to it. Like there's something else operating here as more people are speaking, that I just will dub it as synchronicity. Has that been the case for you?
Oh yes, yeah. Without all of the gatekeepers and uh, one of the things that I've talked about is um, human beings, because of all of our genetic manipulation and because of who we are mentally and spiritually, we have a wider spectrum or band of emotions than most of the beings out there. Mm-hmm. And we have also a very extreme potential in our individual and combined consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about, David Wilcock's books, The Source Field. A lot of people have read those. There's other researchers out there that have talked about, how everything around us is vibration. Matter, energy, thought, it is all vibration of a different resonance. And consciousness interacts with those vibrations and can manipulate them. And our mass consciousness is what is creating our shared reality.